I hope that everybody that is here feels comfortable. If you're new here, I pray that you feel welcome here. That's the most important thing. We often talk about people as neighbors, because when you have a neighborhood, I kind of see the kingdom of God as this neighborhood where everybody's invited, everybody's welcome. Everybody's actually, I even sometimes like to use the word guest, because when you have a guest over, sometimes you kind of change the tone a little bit. You set out the good stuff on the tables. You'll vacuum. You'll dress. I mean, you put aside some of the things to make sure that you're putting energy toward hospitality. And that's very important for us here, too. And it was in the first century. Hospitality was a very, very important thing. Are people feeling welcomed? Are they feeling like a guest? And I think that the kingdom of heaven is very much like that, where we are neighbors, we are friends, we are brothers and sisters in Christ, but we are also guests. Sometimes I think that God is continually setting that table for us. And if you hear thunder, maybe it's him vacuuming. I'm not sure. But if you are new here, I pray that you feel all of those things. I pray that you feel like a welcomed guest, but I also pray that you feel like just one of the neighbors as well, too. So, speaking of Thanksgiving, Jesus kind of told a little bit of a Thanksgiving story about 2,000 years ago. And it's recorded in Luke 15. He says there was a father and two sons. The father was pretty well off. He had a big area of land, nice house, and he had two sons. And one day, one of the sons came up to him, and he said, "I want my inheritance now." Now, in the first century, when someone says they want your inheritance now, they're saying you're dead to me. Because somebody had to die in order for you to get them their inheritance. And so for the son to actually go up while he was alive and say, "I want my half of the inheritance now," what he was saying is that you're dead to me. The father said, "Okay, you can have half of the inheritance now." The son said, "I want to see the world. I want to travel. I want to get out there. I want to be my own man. I want to go out there and I want to explore. I want to grow. I want to take what is mine and leave what I have." And the father gave it to him. And the son went out. And instead of, if some of us might have taken money and we might invest it, we might use it wisely, we might see the world, we might travel a little bit. But the son, instead, he used it to party. He used it to indulge himself. And before the year was over, he quickly found that his money was gone. Not only that, at the same time, there was a famine. And so, within a year, the son found out that he was truly in some dire straits. He even had to resort to getting a job caring for pigs. Keep in mind the history here. The family here is Hebrew. Hebrews do not see pigs as a clean food. Even today, if you go to the store and get Hebrew National hot dogs, which I used to love, there's no pork in them. So for the son to actually work with pigs was an extra step in humility. It was embarrassing. And the son found himself so desperate because he was so hungry, because he had truly lost everything, that he started to crave what the pigs were eating. Just a year ago, this son had everything that he ever desired. And now, he's craving the food of hogs. I don't know if you've ever been in moments of desperation like that, or moments where you sit there and you contemplate where you came and what situation you got yourself in, and you play it back in your head and you think, if I only did this differently, if I would have turned left instead of right. And you can see every moment in your life and you look back and you think, I made some terrible mistakes, obviously. At one time I was living high on the hog, and now I'm living with the hogs. Desperation sometimes will make us create decisions that we may not normally do if we have something called pride. But the son is thinking to himself, I have no other choice. I have to go back to Dad. Dad, who I said was dead. Dad, who I took half of my inheritance and spent everything. I can't go back to him as a son. I can't go back to him and expect to be treated well, but maybe I can go back and get a job. Maybe I can go back and be my father's servant. At least serving my father will be better than craving what pigs are eating. And he does. He turns around and he starts heading home. Now, the father and his son, his other son, have been living in this home, and the father has this huge amount of land, and he can see the horizon from where he sits. And as he looked out the horizon, he could see his son coming back, looking terrible. Within a year, this person was just destitute. His clothes were rotted. He had nothing, and here he was coming. Now, some fathers could even send a servant and say, tell that person that he's no longer welcome here. He got what he was owed. He got the things that he needed. He has everything that I could give him, and I am dead to him. Tell him that he is not welcome in my land anymore. But instead, the father does something very unusual for the first century. Sometimes it's very unusual for this century. He runs. Keep in mind, in the first century, grown men, they did not run. Not unless you were a slave or someone in the competition or running from something, but you did not run. That's almost as humiliating as being with the pigs. And this is a man with power. It's a man that has somehow earned this huge plantation, this huge house, and he chooses to make an ass out of himself and run. And he runs toward his son. And he meets his son halfway. And before his son can even say a word, he embraces him. And he says, come home. And he sends word to his servants, bring a robe for my son. Now, I want you to notice the symbolism in here, okay? A robe at that time was royalty. It was a high honor, a clean robe. And then he said, bring my son the family ring. Family ring, the only people that wore the family ring were the ones in charge. Status given back to him. And then he said, bring my son some slippers, some sandals, some shoes. In that time, only slaves went barefoot. So before the son could say anything, the father has run to him, embraced him, given him honor, giving him his roll back, and told him he will never be a slave. And he says, create the best meal that we've ever had. Invite everybody and we are going to celebrate. We are going to have a party like we've never had before. Get a band, get Will, get everybody to come and play for this. The best of the best. And they do. The son comes back. He gets cleaned up. He gets to put on the robe. He's got the ring, sandals on his feet, and anything that he wants to eat. It's as if he never left. Now, the other son is coming home, and he can hear the music. And he's thinking, that's weird. My father doesn't party. Is that Will Hutchinson I'm hearing? That's weird. Is that his new stuff? And his son gets to the entranceway, and he looks in, and he sees everybody celebrating. And he calls one of the servants over, and he says, hey, what's going on in here? And the son explains to him everything that's been going on, that his brother has come back. Well, this brother, he becomes irate. He won't even enter the house. This guy just took half of the inheritance. He just called Dad dead. He left, and we're having a party for him? We're having a party, and we're celebrating that he came back? Are you kidding me? And he calls his dad over. He won't even enter the house. He calls his dad over. And he says, what is the deal with you? Do you have any idea? Do you understand anything that has happened in the last year? You've been taken advantage of. You have been called dead. I don't even get one of the cattle to have a dinner for my friends, and you're having a party for somebody that doesn't even deserve to be here. And the father says, son, you don't understand. You've been with me all this time. But your brother was lost. And today he's found. You know, it's funny, when I used to take writing classes. I wanted to be a writer. And they told the formula. In every story, you have to have what's known as the protagonist, the hero, the person that we identify with. And stories are created with the protagonist being assaulted by antagonists. And the whole plots of stories are based on a protagonist trying to overcome the antagonists. If you think about literature, if you think about movies, TV, that's what it's based on. You have your hero, and you have your bad guy. And most of our plots are based on, in television, it's usually three times. 3 times that the hero meets the bad guy and tries to overcome it. Who is the bad guy in this one? This is the tricky part. In our world today, we love to be able to say who the bad guy is. But if we really try to think like Jesus, he really destroys storytelling. Because in this one, there was no bad guy. You have a father that we don't know his story. We don't even know really why the son left. On the surface, we can do the social media Facebook post. Boom. Okay, that's the bad guy. He was a jerk. He left. The son's absolutely right. Let's get on the bandwagon, hate the other brother, and chastise the father for showing compassion to the bad guy that chose that he was dead. That's boom. That's the surface. But God goes deeper than that. God goes much deeper than that. God knows why the son left. God knows if the son was scared. God knows if the son inside was a child that made bad choices because he knew no other way. God knows that the Father has a history too. He doesn't know what the Father's history is with the Son. We don't know that. God does know that. And as far as the brother, the story in the if you put it in the text, Jesus is actually confronting and he's putting the brother, the angry brother, in the role of the Pharisees, because the Pharisees don't want us to welcome other people. But the Pharisees aren't an enemy either. The Pharisees are scared, just like the brother was. Was the brother afraid that the son was getting better treatment? Was he insecure? Did he think that the father liked the son better? You see, we don't know. We like to give ourselves permission to be on the right side of our values that gives us permission to hate those on the wrong side. That'd be a great story, wouldn't it? The son that left got his comeuppance. In a Disney cartoon, he would have not died, but he would have floated off in the abyss. And we would have learned. We would have been able to look at our children and say, what is the lesson here? The bad guy took advantage and he got what's coming to him. But Jesus isn't about getting what's coming to us. Jesus is about welcoming everybody home. You see, in Jesus' world, every one of us is a guest. Is a guest. We come from different stories. I've been in the role of the brother numerous times. And I would think that if we're honest with each other, I think we could probably put ourselves in the role of any one of those folks. And as we get together for the holidays, we're going to be probably sitting at a table with people that we might be able to identify in some of those roles as well. But can we take a moment to look a little deeper at our neighbor, at our family, at our loved ones, and even at our enemies? Can we take a moment to see everyone as a guest? Instead of asking, am I on the right side because I'm hating this person, can we say, am I on God's side and finding things that I can love about everybody? I pray that we can do that. It's hard. But it's what Jesus was trying to tell us 2,000 years ago, and it still applies today.